Wouldn't it be nice if Adam Sandler didn't count the dates up all so wrong? And wouldn't it be nice to talk together in a format that goes way too long? You know it's time to rewind, baby, for 19 dates of this movie with Drew Barry. Yeah, wouldn't it be nice? Good morning, listeners. It's another beautiful day here on It's Time to Rewind. I'm your host, Bubbawheat, and joining me for the third and final time is my guest, Curtis Bloes. How are you doing today?
I am doing great. I'm sad to hear this is the final time I'm ever going to join you.
Yeah, well, I'm sure I can have you back for future seasons because you are definitely an enjoyable guest, and hopefully I will be doing something that you'll be interested in the future. And of course, this season we are discussing. I always forget this. What was it again?
50 First Dates.
Oh, right. Well, actually, it is 19 first dates, and we are going through them one date at a time. And this week's date is what I'm calling their 15th date, because it is their 15th on-screen interaction, even though it is their 10th actual on-screen date, as far as I've been counting them. Although if we do find out, if you count the fact that this is their 23rd first kiss, this would make this about their 30th actual date. And it starts at 66 minutes and 46 seconds with Alexa getting knocked over by a wave. And it ends at 72 minutes and 10 seconds with Lucy and Henry falling asleep together. So we talked about Alexa last week, so I won't get too much into her, but I do think it's an interesting choice to have Alexa say the first kiss line in this moment to, again, vary it up a little bit.
Yeah. The thing about Alexa, and like I say, we did talk about her a lot last week, so you can go back and listen to our discussion there. It's pretty good for what we are. What I love about her is that they actually say her name a lot in 2004. And I don't remember the timeline, but now there was like a sweet spot where when you would say Alexa, it would activate something in the background. I don't know if that's still a thing with people, but I like to think there's people watching this movie and having stuff ordered for them from this movie.
Yeah, quite possibly. And I'm not super big on this physical comedy of the wave washing her away, but at the same time, I do like the fact that Henry, again, this kind of goes back to the more positive way that other characters treat her, because I feel like in this way, this shows that Henry is including her in his relationship with Lucy as his co-worker and his friend, to have her, there around them while he's having this date with Lucy.
Well, okay. Alexa getting hit with the wave. First of all, Alexa works at an aquarium and presumably does do some, because she's always wearing a wetsuit or whatever, or something, swim trunk or swimming, what am I trying to say, swimsuit or whatever. So she gets wet, she does stuff in the water, and she's standing in the wave with a giant, am I seeing this right? Does she have like a float around her?
Yeah, like one of those ring floats, like the novelty ring floaties.
Okay, so yeah, she does. She totally does. So what's the joke? Is it just that they needed something visually? Like she says a line and then just right on timing, bam, she gets nailed with the wave. But what is the what's the joke
sure
that's going on here?
It's just the punch. Yeah, I'm sure it's just the punch of the physical comedy. It's just, she fell down, it's funny. She fell down, go boom.
She fell down, go boom, funny. But also, they're making an aquarium worker who works in the water someone who can't swim. That's what they're saying here. She can't swim because she's got to wear the float thing. But she's in the water, but doesn't know about waves. Okay. There's just another layer of joke going on there that I didn't appreciate. Still stupid, but I have a little bit more appreciation for him going to a couple of different levels there.
Yeah.
So now we know this. They've just built I guess I appreciate that they built more about this character. She works in an aquarium and can't swim.
Yeah, and then after that, we go into the underwater tunnel, and we have the shot of the sharks, and I feel like that you could read that as a bit of a metaphor for Henry's character at this point in this movie, because again, like last week, I kind of brought up the idea of how this movie handles consent really well, and in this scene, Henry starts going to cop a feel,
Yeah.
and Lucy shuts him down.
Wow, I didn't put the shark metaphor thing together. There's some thought going on with this movie. Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like that again, the movie falls back on, it's bending over backward to not make Henry feel like a predator, someone preying on Lucy's condition. And he immediately backs off. He feels her out. He's waiting for her to give him consent to move forward, even though he does, again, say, that this is our 23rd first kiss, and they're getting a little blue. So he does apply just that little bit of social pressure, but at the same time, like if this was a normal relationship, it would be almost crazy to think that they've gone on 23 dates and haven't slept together yet in 2004.
Yeah. Yeah, I can kind of see that. The trying to put myself back in that mindset. Yeah, by the 23rd date, you would just assume that somebody has slept together. It would just be unsaid.
Yeah, unless there was some religious thing standing in their way.
Especially someone like Henry. Well, I mean, there we go again. He was the classic 80s chick scammer, unquote, at the beginning of this movie, and now he's on date 23. And and I think you're right about that, even though they showed the shark and him going in for the grab and kind of like being kind of a jerk and pressuring her, not really, but a little, in a nice way, in a sweet way. That shows a little bit of growth on his part. He's not just crassly just going for it. Like, come on! I didn't even put alcohol in that drink. Let's do it.
Yeah, it's like he immediately accepts her, not wanting to move forward, and again, I also love just Drew Barrymore as an actress, and the way she says, "You were going for a feel ski."
Right. That's just so Drew Barrymore. Oh God, I love her.
But then as we get kind of the end of this moment in the with the aquarium backdrop, we do actually see what I think is like the first hint of Henry's frustration with Lucy's disability, because up until now he's been incredibly patient and understanding and doing everything he can to support her and help her live a normal life with the videotape. But there's a lot whenever she says, "I wish I met you one day before my accident." And then he has this sigh, this very heavy sigh that has a lot of weight behind it, where he just goes, "You've said that before."
Right. But I'm also, I'm saying forgivable. How would you, in real life, just think, like, put yourself in that place? You have romantic feelings for this girl, and romantic feelings equal sexual feelings. I mean, one follows the other. And if you're
I'm not saying this as a negative.
No. But what I'm saying is, if you're always perpetually on somebody's first date, like for them, it's always their first date. Like, oh my God, what do you do? You're not a monk. You're not living sexless for the rest of your life. Like, how do you have to broach that subject every single day until the journaling starts.
Right. Well, I mean, at this point, the journaling has started, but we, as the audience, we don't know about the journaling yet. Hopefully, I didn't, whenever I was describing that, it didn't sound like a negative. I feel like it is I feel like it humanizes Henry because this is something that anybody would feel at this point.
Yeah. Yep. No, I got that. I got your saying.
And then we get, this fantastic little scene with Jocko the walrus. And
Trained animals in movies. I never thought of this movie as being one of those, but animals are always spicy in movies. Have you noticed that?
yeah.
They're never just dudes. There's always something a little naughty about them every time.
Mm-hmm. And Jocko was played by Sivakak. He was from Six Flags Discovery Kingdom in Vallejo, California, where he was found as a I forget, as a baby. He was rescued, and they brought him in and trained him at the Six Flags, and he was in this movie, and he was also recorded, and his vocal sounds were used in the sound design for Jurassic Park and Lord of the Rings.
Wow.
For some of the creatures in there. And he lived until the age of 21, where he passed away in 2015.
He seems like he was a pretty cool dude. Seals, though, oh my God, are scary. By saying that white walrus, right?
Walrus, yeah.
Scary. Like you don't want to run into one of those in the wild at all.
Yeah, it's like whenever you look at the size of him compared to them, I mean, he with his head up, he comes up about to your shoulders, and then just certainly outweighs them by probably 4 times.
Well, yeah, and
at least,
and they're meat eaters, and they can attack. I mean, it's not, they're no hippo in terms of body count, but it's not zero. And thinking about Adam and Drew, obviously Adam's not really a veterinarian, and Drew's just an actress. Just being on the same stage with them, that would be a little intimidating, I would think, knowing this thing outweighs you by 3 times, and if he lost control, it could be Bizees for him.
And again, I feel like this whole bit is just, it's very fun, it's very funny, it's lighthearted. And again, I feel like this is a very good example of showing the consent, because even though it is you could look at it as Henry trying to trick Lucy into sleeping with him by getting the walrus to agree and using the hand gesture, but the fact that Lucy not only sees the hand. Yeah, she not only sees the hand gesture and is okay with it, but she explicitly approves of it. And she says, "I'm glad, I saw that, and I'm glad you did it."
Yeah, well, think about the lengths you have to go through, in order to make sure that your audience is okay with him having sex with this disabled woman. It would be very easy to misplay that and be depicted as taking advantage of her. And so, really going out of their way to show consent in this movie, that was a wise step. Even if it was just a stupid Adam Sandler comedy.
And then they make their way into this this incredibly weird space. This is like Henry's office / living quarters.
Yeah.
With this giant window into the dolphin tank.
You never think about it, but yeah, total bachelor pad, right? Totally where this guy would live.
Yeah. And it's like, I mean, what do you think about this space? It's like so, whenever you really look at the background, it's so weird and bizarre. And there's this couch and these 2 end tables with these desk lamps.
But then there's a refrigerator that clearly has medicines and stuff in it.
Right, and right next to the refrigerator, there's these jars that looks like potentially preserved fish specimens.
Right. It's Evil Lair kind of stuff. It really does. It really just is a little nod to his sort of evil womanizing side. Maybe that's not even evil, but just his sort of you know, he's an approaching middle-aged man who just has sex with tourists, doesn't have time to get involved with anybody, really just likes the sex, really nothing else. And so he's got this office that's just functional enough to let him achieve that. And
Yeah.
it's kind of a neat office too. It's kind of like you would be impressed if you were just a tourist and you ended up here. I think because of you've got this thing into the dolphin tank. That's kind of cool. Romantic in its own way. It's got the cool lighting, with the shimmery water and stuff. It's got that sort of, the shimmery light, the low lighting and everything kind of covers up the fact that he's kind of a cluttered slob, kind of scumbag guy that lives in this little thing. Not scumbag, but he's cluttered. He's cluttery and he's a slob. He doesn't really organize anything. Everything. Okay.
Right. It's definitely a bachelor pad that's kind of messy. It's not like the super neat, well-to-do thing. It's definitely something to bring chicks to. And I mentioned this the first time that we saw this office, but since it's prominently showed here again, I will again point out that this giant window into the dolphin tank is actually a giant TV.
No. Wow! I'm totally fooled by that. I'm 100% fooled by that. Wow. 2004 technology, that would have been enormously expensive.
Yeah, I would imagine. Like it's still like they had flat screen, but it's like flat screen was brand new around that time, I want to say.
Wow.
So it's probably like a plasma TV.
I'm so completely fooled. I was so completely fooled by this. Wow. Crazy. That's so great. Well, good timing with Mary-Kate and Ashley there.
Yeah. And then we also get this bit of Rob Schneider's Ula popping up through the window as well, and him doing the thing where he's rubbing his nipples again and mock sex. He was there to. It's him his character just being a total perv and an annoying perv.
I was doing a little Mary-Kate and Ashley looking up. What was Rob doing in the dolphin tank at that time of night? And how did he know?
Yeah.
Like, what's going on there? What is that all about? Have you ever?
Well, I'm sure that he knew. I'm sure that he knew that he, he is Henry's friend. So I'm sure Henry keeps him up to date with how his relationship is going. And I'm sure Ula knew that Henry was taking Lucy to the aquarium today. So he was like, well, maybe this will be the day, so I'll check in on him.
What that suggests to me is that, oh, God, what's his name again? What's Rob's character's name?
Ula.
Ula. Ula knows that when the woman goes to the aquarium office, it's time to make the whoopee. And how many times has he swam to that window to watch?
Yeah.
Because he's already got evidence of living vicariously through Henry, because he hates his wife or whatever, or finds her he finds her disgusting, right? And that's not a joke. He does. I mean, he says it, and they don't show us anything that is different. So him swimming to the aquarium office window must be kind of a regular thing that Henry's cool with.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if that was the case.
That's a little icky.
But at least this time he waves him off, because this is not that kind of escapade.
Well, and at least it isn't Ula having sex with the dolphins. I don't know if it's better. Yeah, it's still better.
And then after that, we get this, we get this nice afterglow with the "Forgetful Lucy" song.
Oh yeah.
This is, it's a very sweet song, but it is a very Adam Sandler song. Like, you hear this song and yes, this is absolutely an Adam Sandler song. It has a very simple rhyme scheme where he, just picks Lucy, and then just everything that he can think of to rhyme with Lucy, and anything that doesn't rhyme with Lucy, he makes rhyme with Lucy, like Caboosey.
Boozy. Hakalu was the place where I first saw your face, yeah. But it's cool. It's kind of a sweet little song. Even though it is a very Adam
Yeah,
Sandler song. It's very Adam Sandler 2004 for sure.
yeah, especially like this feels like a line that Adam Sandler definitely would have put in, but it feels like a stretch to think that Henry Roth put in the line about Doug's nocturnal emissions, his wet dreams.
That's right. Jack of the Walrus is slow. Yeah. I think the part that really made me laugh out loud when I heard the song was when he sang about about Lucy beating Ula with a bat. It's like, oh yeah, they're hitting all the points.
Yeah,
They're kind of doing that thing where they're using the song to remind us of the plot so far, but in a fun way, in a sweet way.
yeah. Which that is the best scene, and I am glad that he referenced that in the song, because that scene just makes me laugh every time, and so that's like the perfect one to call back. But then he does again go a little weird with it whenever he makes light of Gary Busey's head injury from his motorcycle accident back in 1988.
Yeah, but then it ends so sweet. How about another first kiss?
Hmm. And then and then we cut to them laying in bed together, and this is again, it's very sweet. Like, this is very much relationship level, and the it this scene ends in a very sweet, sad place. Like, this is kind of the high point before it kind of crashes. Whenever it's going to crash next week, where Henry goes so far as to, at this point, he asked Lucy if she would marry him, and she says, "Of course." It's kind of like it's so sweet, but then I feel like on a rewatch, it's almost like very bittersweet.
Well, this date, yeah. I mean, it has the same amount of tension for me as Bill Murray going to bed every night. Like, it really got me thinking about, when does the memory thing happen? Is it because they never really explain it? They never really go into the medical reason or how it works. Just that she got hit. Well,
That's because it doesn't technically work
right.
that way.
But they don't even try to do any kind of sci-fi thing. They just fade up to sunrise, and she doesn't remember it.
Yeah, it's
Screaming
basically
and everything.
as the movie presents it, her memory resets every time she basically goes unconscious at night, and then in the morning she wakes up with a clean slate.
I wonder if that works for afternoon naps. In the magical explanation of this movie, do afternoon naps make that happen?
Well, I mean, I feel like the movie tries to make it's not a magical explanation, it's a pseudoscience, because it is based on a head injury, and it's inspired by a real condition, but they take it to they take it to a level that's more convenient to the story they're trying to tell.
Yeah, and I'll call it pseudoscience instead of magic. In the pseudoscience of it all, can she take a nap and get a reset? Like, is there an amount of time? What happens? Does she have to go into REM sleep? Does she have to go into REM sleep? Is that when it happens? When does it happen? If she has an unrestful night full of just constant waking and never gets 15 minutes of sleep, like a typical middle-aged person, does it not reset? Can she have a whole second day of just feeling groggy and gross because she didn't sleep enough, but remembers the day before?
That's that's honestly what I would think. I would think that it is. I think that there potentially it could reset for like a long enough afternoon nap.
Yeah.
I think that the way that it's explained in the movie, I could see that as a possibility, and I could also see, if she developed insomnia, that she could have longer stretches
Oh,
of keeping her memory for several days at a time if she doesn't have that period of sleep that basically resets her memory.
so if she was like me and ran out of melatonin gummies, she could end up remembering things for weeks at a time.
Yeah, it's like two disabilities make a right.
Playing them off each other. Oh, I do love the scene though. When he whispers, "Will you marry me?" She opens her eyes fully, fully. She's not in sleep anymore, and she doesn't just mumble like she's falling asleep. She opens her eyes fully and looks straight at him, completely conscious, completely with intention, and says, "Of course." Oh, my heart just breaks when that happens because I know what's coming.
Yeah, yeah, and then the very next line is Henry saying, "Don't forget about me,"
Yeah,
and she says, "Never." And of course, like that's the real gut punch because especially as an audience, whenever you hear that, you just know that like you're especially in a comedy, you are anticipating what's going to happen when she wakes up because I'm sure that there's a small portion of the audience that has their fingers crossed at like, oh, maybe she'll remember whenever she wakes up. But I think the majority of the audience is like just waiting, like, what are they going to do whenever she wakes up and does not know who he is again?
yeah, and it's kind of that thing too where is it? Remind me. Okay, this is a weird technical question, and I don't know the answer to. What exactly? What's the time counter saying at the end of the scene? Where are we at in the movie? Is it at the
We
hour?
are, yeah, we're at 72 minutes.
72 minutes. Okay, so it's past the hour. So
Yeah.
we're actually kind of to the part of the movie where if you're a normal human who kind of is geared towards 90-minute movies, you're thinking, oh, this could be it. She could be wake up and she could remember him. It could be this magical, moment, and they end up in love forever. And it would be kind of a forgettable movie, but it would be a happy ending. That can happen. It's plausible enough that they're setting that up. Don't forget me, never. That she wakes up and they just have a happy life for the rest of their life.
Hmm.
So it really it gives a good gut punch to the next date.
Yeah. And it's also that level again that I feel like this is something that kind of humanizes Henry, where he has that very understandable thought of maybe this time it'll work. Like he's not just saying that to say that. Like he wants to believe that. Like he wants her to wake up and remember him. Like he does he's willing to do everything he can to work with her and work with this disability, but at the same level, he does wish that she was normal at a certain level. And that line that "don't forget about me" is like just that little bit of I wish you didn't have this disability.
And he doesn't know, and I guess we don't know this yet either, viewers, that she's already keeping track. She's already making, even though she literally doesn't at this point. When she says never, I think she really means that she's trying not to.
Yeah, that she is like that she won't physically remember him, but she will have some record of him that she will always treasure. At least today's Lucy will always treasure, even though tomorrow's Lucy is ends up being completely different.
So I don't know. The last thing I've got to talk about, or I'd like to talk about, if you're kind of heading towards the end, is
Yeah,
like what are Dad and oh God, I forget their names.
Doug,
Dad and Doug, and what's Dad's name again?
Marlon.
Marlon and Doug. What are Marlon and Doug doing? Are they just are they just are
They're
they going out to eat breakfast together and just going, can you believe it? We don't have to do the pineapple thing, and we don't have to do the newspaper thing, and just like, what is their life like? I'm not saying that in a bad way. I mean,
they're they're not. I mean, they're fishermen, and they're not going out on the boat still. But jumping ahead just a little bit, uh, at the beginning of the scene next week, we see that they are, I guess, fishing from, um, like just nearby, like just going
slowly
locally fishing.
getting themselves back into it.
Yeah.
But what a rest that would be for them. Imagine the stress of every day having to just do the same thing over and over again. And I guess as long as it's working, it wouldn't be as stressful. But with every day being a little bit different, and then some days are bad days, just the heartbreak. She comes screaming into the yard, honking her horn. You're like, okay, we can't just have a normal day where we live our life for her. Now we've got to actually not even be able to just relax and live our life. Fall asleep watching Sixth Sense again. Now we have the whole dramatic thing and just take care of her. And now they kind of don't, because Adam Sandler is kind of, Henry is kind of taking over and kind of got the reins for that.
Yeah, it's like they have this new routine where it's it's a different level to it because instead of having to relive the same evening every night with the football game and the Sixth Sense, they instead have to deal with an hour or so of trauma every morning with Lucy rediscovering about her brain injury with the videotape and having to deal with that for an hour or so every morning, at least according to what happened the first time that she watched it. And so there is, it's like they're shifting, but then they have to deal with that trauma for an hour or so. But then after that, then everybody gets to lead a comparatively normal life.
Well, then also, it's kind of dark for Lucy. Every single day, she learns that this is the last day of her life. Now, Lucy doesn't strike me as someone who is particularly intellectual and maybe wouldn't think about it that deeply. But on some level, even if she doesn't think of this as the last day of her life, she does realize at some point that this is all she's got. From now until whenever I go to sleep, this is it. And she loves her dad and she loves her brother. And she's instead choosing to spend the day with a stranger that she doesn't know consistently, day after day.
Yeah.
If it was you and you were surrounded by loved ones and you, through this videotape or whatever, learned this was your last day, that would be kind of hard consistently to just keep doing. Like, wouldn't you? I guess I'm still thinking of this as someone who retains his memories from one day to the next. If this is your last day on Earth, man, would you leave? Would you leave your loved ones to go hang out with a guy, even though there's notes to yourself saying you love him that you just have no memory of?
Yeah, it's one of those things that it's nearly impossible to really put yourself in that sort of situation because it is so unusual and like it's so just unconceivable just to think about that situation. And one other thing it just kind of popped into my head that I'm kind of curious about, because I mean, we don't see Lucy writing in her journal. We don't see them updating the videotape. It's like on days like this, if she forgets to write it down, that day is lost forever.
If she falls asleep, let's say, yeah. Well, I mean, it's a tough life. It's a tough road that this guy is going down, Henry.
Yeah, and it's like you can't even like it's one thing you probably have to like put reminders in your journal because it's not something that you can remember day after day. It's something that you have to like newly remember every single day. Oh, I need to make sure to write the important things about this day down before I go to sleep.
How easy would it be to make this movie into a horror movie? Okay, get that. Here's what I'm saying. He writes down her things.
Well, I mean, the opposite is the opposite is, I mean, not fully opposite, but then you get into the movie that I covered before this, which I kind of think of as like the sister movie, and that's Memento, Like that's kind of
Yeah.
the darkness of this condition.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Because the scenario in my head is, there are things I'm not going to remember. If there's something, if there's something going on, and I didn't have time to journal it, and you're still up, God, feel free to write it down. Just say, hey, this is Henry. I'm writing this down because you wanted me to. You said that you love me. We're going to marry me. So, and then she reads that the next day,
Yeah.
and he could just be lying. He could just get a hold of that journal and just write whatever he wants in there if they get to that point.
Yeah, I feel like if Lucy had a memento style tattoo, it would be, write it down before you go to sleep.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Wow. You know what? How come that guy didn't just keep a journal? Whatever.
Well, in the short story, the original short story Memento Mori, that inspired the movie, he does mention that he tried having a journal, and
Kept losing it.
and I think there's a line in the movie as well that's he tried, or I think with the Sammy story is he tried to keep a journal but it didn't work, and also like the short story ends in the kind of dark future that we talked about with Lucy, with him looking in the mirror and seeing himself as an older man and realizing that he's lost so much time, and it kind of has that horror moment in that original short story.
Did you ever see the Drew Barrymore launch show where all the people were coming on and doing little shorts to wish her good luck with her new show back in 2020 or whenever it was? And Adam Sandler came on and they pretended to be Henry and Lucy again.
I didn't watch that episode, but I believe I did see that clip. But at this point, it's been over a month, and I don't remember it very clearly. But I do remember looking up and watching that clip.
It was sweet. They didn't quite capture the characters, but it was fun to watch.
Yeah. But that's all I have for this week's date. Do you have anything else about this date or about 51st dates in general?
Oh, no. I mean, I could go on and on. I could talk about this movie. We could keep getting into side things, but yeah, let's call it a day. I'm good.
All right, well, thank you so much for joining me for these past 3 weeks. It has been an absolute pleasure to hear your thoughts about this movie and talk about this first kiss montage and about the Forgetful Lucy song. And for one last time, why don't you go ahead and take a moment and let everybody else know where else you can be found online.
Oh, okay. Well, Linktree/Curtis Blaze. Blaze is spelled Bloes. I don't know why I'm spelling it out because I don't really know if I want you guys to find it. I'm a little too introverted to want attention, whatever. But good luck with that. Hey, what's the name of this movie again?
I think it's 19 First Dates.
That's it.
At least that's how many I counted.
Okay. Thanks for having me on. It was a lot of fun talking with you again.
I appreciate it. And of course, you can find me. I am on all the social medias where I'm at Bubbawheat. And the best place to find me, where I'm most active at this moment, is Instagram and a little bit on Threads. And you can also join our Facebook group. It's Time to Rewind, a time loop group, and you can discuss episodes as they come out, as well as have discussions about other time loop movies, TV episodes, novels, video games. It's anything time loop is related there, or is welcome there as well. Memes too. It's all fun and games. And yeah, and until next week, until next time, I will see you again from breakfast next week.
What are you doing?
Nothing. I was just getting some lint off for you.
You were going for a field ski.
All right, I'm sorry, but this is like the 23rd time we've made out already. They're getting blue.
I know.